Hello and welcome to Refresh with Dawn Herring, where observation transforms. And this is the way I see it as artist, aspiring musician, journal keeper, and full-time grandma. This is where we talk about awareness, attitude, and intuition, and how they lead to more confident decision-making and aligned living. I know I see, I choose to be transformed from the heart. I love, I see, I choose to be aligned from the start, because the way I see it matters. In the following episode of the Way I See It podcast, I will be addressing life cycles and how we can recognize the changes and navigate through them as gently as possible. Thank you for listening. Welcome to episode 6 of the Way I See It podcast that I have titled Saying Goodbye. In this episode, I would like to talk about life cycles, how to recognize when one cycle is ending and another is beginning, and the ways that I make it as gentle and seamless as possible as I navigate my way through, which is no easy feat. First, let's talk about what a life cycle can look like. It can cover many facets of life, from where we live, to what job we have, to moving our residence, including upsizing or downsizing, getting married or divorced, dealing with individual relationships, or even how we spend our leisure time. We are always in a cycle of sorts, whether it's just beginning or one we've been in for a while. There are natural ebbs and flows with each cycle. But how do we know when we've been in a cycle and the longevity is waning because it's no longer serving us, or because our life circumstances have changed? Sometimes life hands us an abrupt change that we didn't see coming, like having a rental home sold out from under you and you're left to find another place to live, and where you've been is no longer affordable, or a major job change that brings you to an area you've never been to and you know no one and are feeling isolated. Or perhaps you're in a place where you've just entered the role of single mom because the relationship with your significant other became toxic. Or maybe you've just entered a whole new neurodivergent world with a diagnosis of autism in your child and you feel lost and uncertain about what the future holds. There are some cycles in life that last for many years, such as a long-standing marriage of 50 plus, or living in the same house for your entire married life, or living in the same neighborhood even from childhood. But what about those situations that last only a few years or even a few months? Perhaps a friendship becomes disconnected because your interests have changed, or one has moved away and the distance creates a void. Or maybe you've been a full-time caretaker of a special needs person and someone else takes over. Or your spouse is in the last stages of an illness and it's time to say goodbye. We could also look at each day, each month, or even each task as a cycle, which just shows the natural ebbs and flows that we can experience. We can also look at our creative output cycles, perhaps how change occurs as we paint, draw, sing, play an instrument, write books, or a blog post, or host a podcast. Obviously, we don't stay with the same topics necessarily, because as we change, what we share changes. Now that we've looked at all the types of cycles we may encounter in our lifetime, let's talk about how we can recognize the signs of when one cycle ends and another begins. Sometimes it can be really tricky to know. Other times it can be really obvious. This is where awareness is so key. The more we can sustain an active awareness concerning where we are in a cycle, the more readily we will be able to see the signs of when a cycle is coming to a close. Sometimes it just happens naturally and we just need to move intuitively through the process. Other cycles are ones we create for ourselves. This is when we have to be more proactive about recognizing when the cycle we are in is no longer serving us, especially when we feel out of alignment because of it. One of the things that really helps me in dealing with a cycle that is waning is to feel into my body about what's happening. What emotions am I feeling? Am I more frustrated than usual? Do I feel blocked? Am I agitated and wonder why? Do I feel resistance rather than flow? It can be helpful to write down how you're feeling, whether on a piece of paper or in a journal, depending on whether what you write down will be preserved or tossed. Sometimes just getting it out on the page can give you just the right clarity in the moment to recognize a changing cycle that you weren't already aware of. Now I'd like to address how we can let go of an old cycle, even if it's a short one, in order to embrace the new one that is beginning. This can be especially difficult to navigate when it's a big change, such as caring for a loved one that required a lot of time and energy, or making a big move across the country. That's why I titled this Saying Goodbye. It's important to look at the cycle that is ending and see all the benefits you have experienced from that time. In a sense, it gives you the opportunity to honor your life's experience and how it helped make you who you are today. And as you do this, you can begin to say goodbye in a way that is gentle, kind, and compassionate, towards yourself especially, which is vitally important. And as you do this, it enables you to tap into that intuitive wisdom that you need to guide you into what is next for you in that new cycle that is just beginning. I will say that it can be very hard to let go, especially when you've taken on responsibilities that were challenging. It can sometimes feel like you're in a free fall, which can feel disorienting and even overwhelming. Thus, the gentle awareness can help us ease into that next place as we open our hands and let go of what is no longer necessary or essential for us to do or have. And we can celebrate how we have grown into who we are today that makes what is coming next possible, which helps us to fully align and move into that place with more ease and grace, with the least amount of resistance and stress possible. Yes, I notice that sometimes when I'm in the process of letting go of an older cycle, I may experience a bit or a lot of grief or sadness. But I remind myself that opening my hands to let go of what was, sometimes I do this literally with my hands, it helps ground me in the present moment. It can then lead to receiving what is to come, what is literally at the door of the new cycle that is beginning. And that's worth celebrating. I find when I get stuck in my head concerning the ending of one cycle and the beginning of another, the logistics can really slow me down and give me a feeling of powerlessness. So I have to remind myself that I don't need to know all the details just yet. If I received everything I think I needed to know now, that would truly be overwhelming and completely unnecessary. Gentle beginnings can help us take it one step at a time. And each step we take is worth celebrating as we say goodbye to what was and begin to say hello to what is new. And as you do this, I celebrate with you. A journaling prompt for you. Take a moment to record life cycles that you are currently in right now, from relationships to jobs to hobbies to family dynamics to how old you are. This will help you activate awareness with where you may be in a cycle. Do you see or feel any signs of a cycle coming to a close? How do you feel about this? Are you ready to release the old and embrace the new? Do you know where you want to go? Also, you can note down what cycles you have more direct control over versus those that are more outward, circumstantial, that you simply have to work with. Now pick one of those cycles and determine how you can make the change as gentle and compassionate toward yourself as possible. You might even want to write a letter in your journal to that older cycle that is closing, highlighting the ways it has benefited you and helped you grow in various aspects of life. It can also help to pace yourself with your to-dos or giving yourself space to create to unload that pent-up emotion. And remember to celebrate all that you have experienced and honor who you are today as a result of having lived that life cycle. You deserve it. Thank you so much for listening to the Way I See It podcast. I really appreciate it. And if you have found this on YouTube, you are welcome to subscribe to my channel for future episodes. And if you found me on Spotify, you're welcome to follow me for future episodes there as well. You're also welcome to check out my website at dawnherring.net, where I have more journaling resources for your practice. And remember that the way you see it matters.